So this may very well be the cheapest and the worst lens you can possibly buy for your Sony camera. But does that necessarily make it a bad lens? Well, we're gonna find out today. What makes this lens unique is that it's basically a disposable camera lens, refitted so you can mount it on pretty much any Sony camera. It is an f10 aperture, it is about 32 millimeters, and there is obviously no focusing on it, so you just point and shoot. It's a beautiful morning, so I'm gonna keep shooting photos, and when I'm done, I'm gonna head back to the studio and we will check out the photos in Lightroom and see just how good they are, especially on a 61 megapixel sensor like on the Sony a7CR here. Luckily it's like 6 a.m. and there's no one out right now, so I can stand in the street and take photos without having to worry about getting hit by a car. All right, that's a sick photo. Anytime I get a new camera or a lens, usually my go-to spot to test it out is to come and photograph this building. Pretty much every corner of it is just so photogenic. Then I'm going to use this puddle for the foreground. I keep on trying to half press the shutter and focus, but there is no focus. All right, so we have moved to the next location now. The sun is starting to get pretty high in the sky, so no more of that morning golden hour look. But this is the next spot I wanted to photograph. It's kind of a cool scene. It's a pretty cool shot, but at this time of the day, it's kind of hard to take the photo without getting my shadow in the shot, which I'm personally not a big fan of getting my shadow in the shot, but it's still a cool photo regardless. All right, so I am back at the studio now. I am sorry it was not a long photo walk, but the sun was starting to get high in the sky, and I think I got all of the photos I really wanted and enough to be able to form an opinion on the dispo lens for the Sony a7CR or just about any Sony camera that you might want to put it on. Now, before we start editing the photos, I did want to talk about the lens a little bit. Yes, it is f10, so I was having to crank the ISO to 2000, 3200, since it was still fairly early in the morning and there wasn't a ton of light just yet. But that's not a big deal. If anything, I think the high ISO and the additional noise that is introduced from the ISO kind of helps give the photos a little bit of character. I don't really see it as a bad thing. And the compact size, it genuinely feels like there's not even a lens on your camera, and you kind of forget that there is a lens on your camera. It's about the same size as the sensor cap that comes with your camera, so that gives you an idea of what to expect, and it's probably a cheaper plastic. If I had to guess, it was probably 3D printed and then the lens was put in. Whether the lens is authentic and comes from an actual disposable camera, I'm not really sure. But either way, I think I'm actually pretty happy with the results that I got. So let's dive in and look at some of these photos. So right off the bat, I wanted to go over the editing of the photos. I used a preset that I made kind of recently that is inspired by like an expired film look, and I feel like it complements these photos very, very well. If we go to just the normal photo and I apply just a normal preset of mine that I would normally use, then you'll see that it looks good, but I feel like the disposable film edit looks better, or it just makes more sense for this photo. So let's go ahead and reset that and just check out this photo, and let's go over the sharpness first, because this lens is not sharp whatsoever. If you zoom in, you'll see in the center is probably where it's the sharpest, but even then it's still not that sharp. And when you go over to the edges, as you look, see that corner of the building and then this corner, it gets noticeably sharper, and there is a lot of halation and chromatic aberration, but I also see that as a good thing. I feel like it gives the lens a lot more character. And you'll see once you get to the edges, maybe you can't tell in the sky, but you can tell in this power line, it is very, very soft, and still soft at the top of the building. But as we get down to the middle of the image, it looks a lot better. It almost has a tilt shift lens style look to it, which I think is kind of cool. Now, I can't decide what was my favorite image from this morning. I'm tied between the puddle shot and this one of the door with the sign. I think they both look really good. I love the contrast in this image, especially with the preset. I love the way the greens look, and I love the contrast between the red and the yellow on the sign here. It gives the image a nice little bit of flair, because you have pretty much all of the dominant colors in here. You have the blue from the sky, you have the red, you have the yellow, you have the green, and I think this preset, we'll go back to the preset, looks really nice. Now, this preset is available on my website now at the time of this video going live. So let's go ahead and apply the preset. It's pretty dark right off the back, as you'll see. But if you just crank up the exposure a little bit, I feel like it actually makes the photo look better when it's actually a little overexposed. But yeah, if you like this preset, you can head over to my website and check it out if you want to help support the channel. Now, while I have your attention, I'm gonna go back to the puddle photo and we're going to edit this. We're gonna use my essential editing presets. So we're going to apply the standard, and then let's see here. How do these look? Let's go to the gold. I like the gold and what it does to the orange brick on that building. Then go over to the contrast, just soften up that contrast just a little bit. And let's add a little bit more grain. See, I think that looks great too. And whether you like this edit more or this edit, that is up to you. So let's go over some things I noticed in other images. There is a bit of distortion with this lens, but again, I think that also gives it more character. You'll notice in this photo with the brick, the line here of the door, it's kind of curved, and you'll notice some curvature there in the brick. But a little distortion doesn't hurt anything in my opinion, so it looks good. And you will notice in this photo that there is a lot of halation. The lens is very soft and the light is very soft, and it gives that kind of pro-mist diffusion filter look to it, which I also think complements it. So for what it is, I think all of the things wrong with this lens is actually what makes it so great. And it's only 25 bucks, and chances are you're probably not gonna use it most of the time. You'll only throw it on for fun. When you're out shooting or maybe at a party, you could throw a flash on as well and get that disposable film look. I will have the link in the description if you want to check this out. So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to help support me. And I hope I could inspire you guys to get out and take more photos. Go out and shoot.